Hello, everybody. How are you guys doing? Yeah, Milad, we will be publishing the sessions so everyone can consume them later. No problem on that. All right. So, guys, who has questions? Let's start with that, okay? No questions, no doubts, no nothing from the previous sessions? All right, so I'm going to jump to my screen. Give me 1 second so I can share it. We'll be good to go. All right. So for today, our yes, Roger, I see that you have a question, so please post it on the chat. Go ahead. No? Okay. I'm going to continue. So the session for today is around Power Platform and Copilot. Okay. I was testing the tools. Unfortunately, I've been having some issues with Power BI, it seems, even when having some very basic reports. So I'm not able to launch Copilot from here, right? So I'm not able to do a live demo of that. And Power BI was giving me issues when creating a new document. So I'm sorry for that. Nonetheless, I want to start reviewing those capabilities so we can understand them. Um, Someone is asking in the audience what's the engine behind Copilot, and Copilot is also a GPT implementation, all right? Just like OpenAI did with ChatGPT, Microsoft does with Copilot. So hallucinations, those are things that should be troubleshooted, basically. Because as we have seen in these sessions, we have to understand what is an issue because Copilot is not working as an AI service. What is an issue because the tool, the product, Teams, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, etc., is not working properly. And what are real hallucinations, or let's say I'm asking a prompt and I'm getting a different reply, and things like that. All right? Okay. So as I was saying, I don't have the option here for the reports because I tried publishing a couple of reports and they were simply not not saving here. But here, when you are inside your report in Power BI, you will be able to launch Copilot. And this is basically expanding on the previous AI features that Power BI had implemented. Because if in case you're not aware, there was some basic Q&A implemented in Power BI, so you could ask questions like, I don't know, what month had the most amount of sales, or what is the country where we have more customers, things like that. And here, you will be able to not only generate those basic questions, but you will be able to expand on suggestions on how to present your data, how to action on your data, how to drive the story on your data itself, basically. So because a lot of the time, the people who are working on the reports are very good with numbers, but they might not be the best in storytelling. So having the proper narrative is going to help you deliver the outcome that you want to actually achieve. And as you can see for the Q&A section, now you have the option of adding synonyms. So with that, you will be able to get better replies when you are querying each of these reports. What are the prerequisites? That, of course, you have Power BI with Power BI Desktop or the Power BI service, okay? So that's also another reason here I'm restricted to web tools only. So it's important to understand that we are using one of these two options. In case someone is telling you, hey, what about Power BI free and things like that? There's no free Copilot integration there. On the other apps that we are able to test, in the case of Power Apps, here I have created a blank application, okay? So, and I know nothing about Power Apps, okay? I only handle a bit of Power Automate, mainly because of what I do. I don't have the time to, let's say, explore the technology in the way I need to for proper understanding. So let's say I want to create sometimes let's see if I can get away with this or not. But yeah, in my case, this is no, it's not creating this. But if I ask something simple like add a button, of course, here is where you have to be a bit more complex with your request, because sure, for adding a button, you just drag and something, and that's all you do. But maybe I don't know, add 3 buttons with a big black. And here we can see that we have all our buttons with whatever we were requesting. Now, how would I approach? Let's say if my boss tells me, hey, okay, I got your Copilot, start working. And if I'm not an expert in Power Apps or things like that, I would start by going to Copilot, of course, go through the documentation and all the other resources. But once you have your documentation and you really want to understand something, you could say things like, what so once I ask something like this, sure, everyone will tell you, yeah, all you need to do is create, I don't know, create a screen, create a form, read this, write that. But here, you can ask Copilot to give you the specific terms that you need to use. And that is going to be very important when you are interacting with Power Apps, Power BI, or Power Automate, because all of these tools have specific meanings for the words they're using, okay? So I don't know, if you're using the words table and list like they're synonyms, that might not be the case. Because if you're talking about lists, maybe Copilot will think you're talking about SharePoint and not that you're talking about a table, for example, that's inside an Excel or whatever it is you are doing. So now you could continue with that prompt. Then once I start asking Copilot, basically, how can I start doing this? Then you start getting that one-to-one guidance that many of us wish we had in years past. So here it tells me, okay, first I need to add a new screen, and then I need to add the necessary input fields for the candidate name and date. So for this, I would come here. So please add a screen that says registered candidate with a field for the name and a field for the date. And let's see. Now, sometimes we might be sending prompts that are too complex. So if they're complex, we can split them in two, and that way we can achieve our results. So here we can see, okay, we have both inputs, and the screen was added with the name register candidate. So as you can see, again, I'm no expert in Power Automate, of course. But if I kept interacting with Copilot, asking, okay, what's next? What do I do? How do I troubleshoot, etc. Even if you have no idea about what you're doing and you're just trusting Copilot, you can achieve a result. And that's, again, that's in the very basic sense with someone not having a clue about what they're doing. But when you do know what you're doing, when you're the owner of the process, when you understand the tools you're using, and all you need to do is say, hey, how do I add this extra whatever that the customer is asking? And especially also for drafting things, I know that the people who are more formal are going to tell me, what are you doing? That's why you use Figma, or that's why you do prototyping and a lot of things, right? But here, maybe I'm a manager, so I have no real idea on how these things are connected, but I could start at least adding the screens, adding the buttons, etc. And I could pass this to my, my Power Platform expert inside the company, a consultant, etc., and tell to that person, hey, I need you to finish this. Now, depending on how good or how bad you do things, for that third party, sure, it might be a piece of cake just taking whatever you did and modifying it, or maybe whatever you did only works as a prototype to understand the concept, and they have to rebuild everything. But with this, at least you're able to go directly to whatever you know can or cannot be done, instead of what many companies do, which is they go to the market, they ask for a super solution that has a million things, and then they have to get negative answer after negative answer telling them that it's not possible unless they spend a crazy amount of money. So after they come to terms, then they look at options like Power Platform to start integrating their line of business processes. In both scenarios, you end up in the same location. The only difference is that the other company had to learn by trial and error, while in our case, just by embracing AI and asking AI, hey, what would happen if I do ABC? now I'm starting to get results that I can share with the rest of the organization. Do we have any questions around this? If someone knows more power apps than me, please share your comments and we can try an example or whatever you want. Okay, yeah, seems that we don't have any comments. All right. So let's try other things like add a title to the current screen. Here add a text box. Because if I ask for a title, it's going to change the title of the, it's adding another text input. Okay, yeah, so in that case, I will need to just go with the maybe a text label. Okay, so this is what I meant by knowing how to properly ask for things. Because if I had, again, if I come from a mindset of a person who expects things to work on their own and read my mind, this is not the product for you. Okay, Copilot is, again, it's not going to do the work for you. So sure, I could say, hey, you know what, the product is useless because it can even get me a text on the top of the screen. But when I understand that what I need to ask is a specific component, because if I say things the other way, sorry, I might get a different result, like changing the title of the screen. That's how you do what in the past would have taken you 1 or 2 days. That's how you can do that in 1 to 2 hours. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to the next item because that's where I have more experience and where I want to show some that. Right. So I'm in Power Automate. So we are going to create a flow. Let's do the following. Go here into SharePoint. And let's go to integration. And now I'm going to create a flow via Power Automate. Sorry. All right, and we are going to start with something very simple. Send an email when an item is added, okay? Just to have a start. So let me sign in. Give me 1 second, please. And oh yeah, this is because let me create one from scratch because this template is using the old design and that is not going to work. So let's create an automated flow. And in the meantime, I want the people in the audience to think of a business process you waste a lot of time. Okay, something you would like to fix. If Copilot could do it for you. Let's see if we can take one of those as an example. Okay. I'm going to choose my starting SharePoint list. And okay, no one is commenting. So here we have the Copilot button, all right, where you have a couple suggestions. And here the actions are more natural in the way you can ask. So for example, I could ask, create an approval, send to 2 people. Okay, let's try giving a complex process. I mean, it's not very complex. But again, I mean, just adding all the boxes and all of that, that would take me 10 to 15 minutes probably. So just having this means that, okay, first, let's go over what I asked, okay? Create an approval that is sent to 2 people. So here I have the settings about starting and waiting for an approval. Of course, this is something you will need to modify with all your parameters, etc., to make sure that you're adding the right people. Then you have a condition based on the output of the approval. So basically, okay, if this is approved, in case this is true, is sending the email, which is what I requested here. And in case it's rejected, then this will update an item in the SharePoint list, and then it's sending an email. Let me delete all of these and let's try adding. And let's ask Copilot for a suggestion. So now that we are asking Copilot what we could do, here we have 5 ideas, right? So yeah, one of them, perfect. Let's create a task on plan, right? Or let's do the following. Yeah, in this case, no, it wasn't so good. So, but if I go step by step, let me undo this. Okay, perfect. That was added. Then So if we go one by one, basically, you will see that all of this is going to be added automatically. And very important, those connections are also set up automatically as well. Because when you're manually adding your options to Power Automate, yeah, it's super simple. All you need to do is basically click on the box and sign in. But again, if you are new to the software, if you're just trying to explore it, to know what to do, I mean, how many of you have had customers that told you, yeah, I got 365 because I needed email. Maybe I needed storage, so I looked at OneDrive as well. It was a good price. And now I realize that I have a lot of tools and I don't know what they do. Where do I start? And if I'm not willing to pay the consultancy fees that someone is going to charge me to see it and go through all of these items with me, maybe with Copilot, I can teach myself. And by exploring these options, maybe I realize that there is something that can really kickstart my business and improve what I'm doing day by day. Now, one thing we have to know, we need to check, as you can see here, is that since we are not saving the flow yet, because I have not saved the connections, and I have not modified the mandatory values, anything that I send as a prompt is going to override the previous one. So again, an action that can blah, 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 and this is going to change everything. So in case, because I see that no one is raising their hand or asking about that, okay? And that is only because I have not saved the flow. So here, okay, the flow is going to start manually. This is creating an entry. Let me see. Like add an action that can add a row to an Excel table and add it with the information from the list. So right, because based on this context, the starting action or the trigger action needs to be different because it's not compatible with what I'm asking. Okay. So also you have to make sure that you're properly accounting for that. If not, then you might realize that you built a beautiful flow, but maybe you screwed up here. And when you have to move the actions and all of that, it's extremely painful. It's prone to errors, and sometimes you have those catastrophic failures that you just have to basically clone the entire action, and that can take a couple hours of your time just because you have to go, box by box, modifying all the parameters, all the settings, etc. Any questions so far with what we have seen? Right, someone is asking, what about having only basic functionalities when you're buying, for example, Business Premium, if you don't have the Plan 2 and all the advanced features? Copilot is not a premium connector, okay? So it's not a requirement to have a subscription to Power Automate in order to be able to access the service, okay? Now, if you ask for a premium connection, then you will need the premium service. I don't know. For example, when an item is added to a shared, and please create a ticket in here. So here I would have a premium connector where I would need to have that additional subscription. And you can see here that the action is not finishing for my for my user, because here we should see that premium connector, but since I don't have access to them, again, this is only my theory because I am not troubleshooting this real time, but my theory would be that Copilot is trying to bring all the actions, but Power Automate is saying, hey, wait, this user is not authorized to use this connector because he's not paying for that service. So you will have a situation like this, basically, where it's not going to be able to finish the flow. Yeah. Yeah, see, I have a 404. So that's basically Copilot telling me, no, you don't have access to that license. All right. Any other questions that you have, team? Again, I wish I could tell you how I use this in my day-to-day job, but I would have to share confidential info, so I'm not able to. But I really encourage you to start playing with Copilot, even if you, let's say, you want to test it on your own and you cannot afford the $30 a month subscription for Copilot, you can still use Bing Chat. You can still get an EFI developer subscription, and you can still make questions. So again, like I was saying the other day, now that I need to basically work some numbers in Excel to produce analysis, real data, etc., there's things I don't know how to do. So all I do is I come to Copilot and say, hey, I have an Excel. Sometimes I copy paste like the structure of the Excel, so it understands the columns and all of that. So I have an Excel, it has this structure, and I don't know, I need to calculate this, and that. How should I do it? But not only asking how should I do it, because if I ask AI, it doesn't matter what I use. But if I tell it, how do I calculate or how do I get this value, it's going to tell me, oh, yeah, all you need to do is, I don't know, apply this mathematical operation and get this result with blah, blah, blah. But if I tell the AI, can you provide instructions for a person who doesn't understand or is not a power user of Excel on how to apply that to the table that I shared previously, that's when you are able to move forward. Don't be afraid of the technology. Engage with it. You have to use it, all right? There is nothing that someone else can tell you that is going to make it easier for you. If you're not using this, it's going to show. Why? Because the quality of the results that you get are not going to be good. Simple as that. I see it all the time. I see that people don't use AI even for the most basic things. Not even we have people who clearly don't use it because I don't know what's going on around their minds. They simply don't care. We have people who use it, but they use it as a search engine. So something very, very basic, okay? Then we have people who really start using it to get more advanced data. Like, hey, how do I troubleshoot this kind of problem when I'm in this scenario and my customer is frustrated because this, and that. And then we have the more experimental people who do all the things that the other guys are doing, but they're also trying out features or questions. For example, that like the question we just had about, hey, what's going to happen if I ask Power Automate to use a premium action? So okay, now we know, right? But there are people who are not thinking about those things, and it's very important that you do. Because otherwise, if you're not thinking, the machine is going to think for you. And if the machine is doing all the job and all the work, then what are you doing? You become replaceable, right? And there's nothing more powerful than your own mind. If you leverage this tool, trust me that you're going to go far because the amount of things you will be able to do in the same amount of time is going to be huge. So having said that, any other questions? Anything else, team? Something that you might want me to go over? Maybe if you don't remember something from a previous session, etc. Okay, so I'll be ending the recording now. Thank you everyone for joining here, and the people from the GIG community. I'm going to be running a training tomorrow during US business hours. That training is going to be recorded, and that's going to be privately shared with all of you. So thank you for coming, and have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.